Waiters, what crazy things have you overheard while serving a table?
I heard that if you complain about something in this place, they might bring you the dish for free.
I politely told her it wasn't true.
I wish spineless managers would kick such customers out of the establishment more often.
One girl was trying to impress her date by telling him that pharaohs were aliens.
I can just imagine that guy thinking, wow, I had no idea. He was probably just nodding and agreeing with everything she said.
A kid was describing whale vaginas in graphic detail. His older brother told him to stop acting like a little fool. The younger brother replied, "I thought you liked whale vaginas. Isn't that why you're still dating Evelyn?" Barely holding back laughter, I quickly dashed to the kitchen to have a good laugh.
I accidentally overheard two girls aged 12 to 14 talking about their first sexual experiences, while their parents were sitting right across from them.
That's really crazy, but I'm not surprised. My doctor tried to get me on birth control at 13 because she knew what we're always thinking about.
Although I didn't even kiss a boy until I was 18, I guess I was a rare case.
I work as a bartender.
I had my back to two guys who had just arrived and had about 3 beers each. They were talking about a girl standing nearby and what they would do to her.
Nothing I hadn't heard 1,000 times before.
I bet if we spiked her drink with this stuff, she'd be all over us, one of them said, laughing. I chalked it up to a crappy joke, but then one of them seriously suggested spiking her drink with some junk.
That's when I left the bar, asked the manager to call the police, and when the cops arrived, I threw them out.
They were searched and, of course.
Another time, during the summer, I worked in a crappy seafood place.
I was serving a table with a chubby black couple. They were funny folks.
So, I bring them their drinks and ask if they're ready to order.
I don't remember what the husband ordered, but the wife didn't like it for some reason.
Then he looked at her and said, "Listen, woman, when you eat chili, I still lick your chocolate starfish, so don't give me a hard time for ordering what I want."
She immediately responded, "Harvey, just shut up, please."
They both laughed.
Best table ever.
And they left me a $20 tip.
I saw a mother take a knife and hit her 2-year-old daughter's hand with a flat side because the girl was drawing with her left hand. She yelled at her, "No, do it with your right hand. Good girls don't write with their left." This happened right when I was standing next to them taking their order. I was writing it down with my left hand. I once worked as a waiter. I was walking down a long corridor, carrying a tray of food. From another corridor, a kid runs out and, without raising his hands, crashes headlong into the wall. He starts crying. His father calmly approaches him, kneels down and says, "Buddy, let's not crash into walls." I covered my mouth with my hand to stop myself from laughing out loud. Tears welled up in my eyes. Sound advice.
Though the fact that he was so calm in this situation suggests it might not be the first time something like this happened. That's actually why I found it so funny.
I was curious about what a typical day for them is like.
"Buddy, let's not sit upside down in the car."
"Buddy, let's not drink motor oil anymore."
A conversation between an elderly couple in a cafe. "I just want to die already."
"I know, dear."
There have been many such instances.
Once, I overheard lawyers discussing a child molestation case in a Catholic cathedral. But my favorite was the group of nurses. I was pouring them water and heard one say, "Yesterday, an adult guy came in wanting to get circumcised." I didn't stay to hear the rest and left. When I came back with drinks, she was saying, "Yeah, Grace pulls back the foreskin, and he ejaculates." Never ask a nurse about her day. It's definitely worse than yours. This happened over 10 years ago. I had no idea what swinging and wife swapping were. I was working in a place in the middle of a big city, serving people breakfast.
The husband was clearly upset, and the wife was half embarrassed, half annoyed.
Whenever I approached, they would instantly fall silent.
But they were so emotional in their conversation that I could occasionally hear them talking loudly. The restaurant was also semi-empty, with high ceilings and marble walls. It used to be a bank.
I started approaching their table, and they didn't notice me coming.
"Husband, how can I not be angry?
You let him screw you from behind.
Why did we even set rules if you don't care about them?" When I worked at a bar, one guy told me he was going to kill his boss because a friend of his died in an accident at the cement plant, and no one did anything to fix the problem. And another time, a guy came in and ordered a bottle of non-alcoholic beer and a shot of vodka. Between the bar and his table, he poured the vodka into the beer, then went to his seat.
He did this several times.
One guy admitted to having sex with his girlfriend's sister.
It was their anniversary. I guess he thought there was less chance of her causing a scene in our place. I was serving a family of 8, and the grandfather was paying for the meal. He had the check and a credit card in hand, and he was trying to insert the card into the small slot inside the check presenter. When I approached, he said, "It's too narrow, I can't fit it in," then smiled and elbowed his wife. It's been a long time since I said anything like that. She blushed, said his name in a tone like, "You're in trouble," and elbowed him back even harder.
A sweet couple regularly came to our restaurant.
They always asked to be seated at the back, where the staff usually sat.
They were probably around 60 years old and always talked to each other very affectionately and sweetly.
My colleague constantly teased them.
One day, the man came in with a different woman, and my colleague jokingly said to him, "Ooh, you're in trouble.
I'll tell your wife you were here with another woman." To which the woman replied, "Excuse me, what?
I'm his wife. Who the hell has he been coming here with?" An awkward silence ensued as she glared at her very flustered husband.
My colleague just turned around and left. I'm not a waiter, but I work in a bar, and I've had 2 such incidents. The first one was a couple sitting right across from where I was washing glasses. It was during the NBA Finals, so it seemed a bit strange to me that they looked sad while everyone else was enjoying the game.
They sat there for at least 4 hours and, as far as I could hear, they were discussing the possibility of having another child to improve their relationship. From what I understood, she had cheated on him because she felt empty, but didn't want to break up because they already had children together. The guy was clearly very upset but said he would support her if that's what she wanted. Another incident happened last week during a big charity event we were hosting.
It was a group of 4 girls. They seemed uncomfortable to me.
When I asked if everything was alright, they told me that a guy had been following one of them everywhere.
He kept showing up at her house, at her work, etc., and constantly calling her. And just now, he had shown up at the bar. She threatened to call the police if he didn't leave her alone.
And you know what he did? Of course, he apologized by sending her a cocktail.
I was serving a party of 6 friends. At some point, a clown walked into the establishment. He started roaming the restaurant, making balloon animals for the kids and doing other tricks. I had no idea what was going on because we hadn't hired this guy.
Eventually, he approached the table with the group and chose one of them to show a trick. At the end of the trick, there was a small flash of smoke and fire. And then magically, a wedding ring appeared on a string. The man took the ring, and the woman sitting with them got down on one knee and proposed to him.
He refused, asked her to stand up, and they continued eating.
At some point, the whole restaurant, about 300 to 400 people, it was a very busy day, was watching their table. But then everyone just awkwardly turned away and continued eating like nothing had happened.
I think before proposing in public, you should be 110% sure the person will say, yes.
Especially if you're involving a clown. Better be as sure as possible.
Working as a waiter, I noticed people often pretended I wasn't there. You can't imagine the stories they told each other in front of me.
One woman at a table with 6 other ladies talked about how her husband was recently prescribed Viagra.
He took it like vitamins, 1 pill every morning. He had an erection all the time at work and didn't understand why. I worked as a waiter for 10 years in a small but famous restaurant in Ohio.
One time, a family came in, mom, dad, and 2 little kids.
I took their order, and while bringing their drinks, the father asked me to step aside with him. "Dad, my son is a huge fan of Billy Bob Thornton. We told him that Billy Bob sometimes comes here to eat, so could you play along?"
Me, sure, no problem. I come back with the drinks, and the son, about 5 years old, starts asking me questions about Billy Bob Thornton, what kind of person he is, and so on.
I'm making it all up on the spot because I want a good tip and I don't want to disappoint the kid.
The boy was so happy to learn that Billy Bob comes to the same place where he's sitting now.
I can't even imagine another scenario in which this kid might meet Billy Bob Thornton. And also, kid, Billy Bob Thornton's dad always tips the waiters 50%. I was serving a family of 8, and their grandfather was paying for lunch.
He had a check and a credit card in his hands, and he was trying to insert the card into the small slot inside the check holder.
When I approached him, he said, "It's too narrow. I can't insert it," then smiled and nudged his wife with his elbow. It's been a while since I've said anything like that. She blushed, said his name in a tone like, "You're in trouble," and nudged him back even harder. I'm amazed at the moment when guests go for an unclean table.
In the restaurant, there are many clean, free tables. But there are guests who strive to sit at the very table that has just been vacated.
I don't know how to explain this.
Maybe it's some kind of quality indicator for them, that if people sat at this table, they also want to go there? At the same time, they immediately start to complain that the table is not clean. Even though it's all in the moment, we just didn't have time. Thank you for watching. If you have worked as a waiter, have you experienced any funny or unusual situations? Tell us about it in the comments, and don't forget to check out our other videos.